Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. This show is designed to highlight the work of individuals working in the area of philanthropy. Today with us, we have a fascinating woman. Her name, Elyn Kronemeyer, and Elyn is a trustee of the Southampton Arts Center in Southampton, New York. Elyn, it is so nice to have you here with us on Successful Philanthropy. And Elyn, before we start to talk about the Southampton Arts Center, tell me a little bit about you. I understand you've lived in the Hamptons since 1985, and you're married to a man who actually was born here. And when we think of the Hamptons, we think of the lifestyles of the rich and the famous. Most of the people that people think about don't live here. They're transports from New York City, or they're transports from Europe or LA. But you're an original, almost an original. Tell us why you chose Southampton, New York to live.
Well, I fell in love with my husband. That was the reason. But he was born here, and his family has been coming out here since the 1950s. So they were part of that European contingent that came after World War II. They settled in East Hampton, and so he was born in July. So he was born here, even though he grew up in the city, and he summered out here. And I met him in 1985 when I was out here working on a project, and actually it was a photography project. It was an exhibition of historic photographs that were being displayed at the Center for Inter-American Relations in New York, and I came out to curate that exhibition, and we did it out here in Southampton.
And then you decided to stay here and raise a family here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how has the Hamptons changed since then? This year it's incredibly crowded. I call it the post-COVID syndrome, where people just want to be out of the city. They're not thinking about anything other than to have a good time, to party, to go out to restaurants, to be crazy. And this year, the Hamptons is flooded with people from all over the place. How was it back then in comparison?
Oh, it was a little paradise. It was a paradise for my husband growing up, obviously. He talks about, driving from Southampton to East Hampton and not meeting a single car on the road. And when we moved out here in '85, because he started a tennis club here, the Southampton Racquet Club, in the early '80s. He was a gold trader in New York, and the family had this property, so he turned it into a tennis club and cottages, like a little mini resort. And there were no TV stations, there were very few people. It was a paradise.
It was a different world anyway, but I kind of liked the crowds, and I think if you're out late enough, and last night I was out to dinner in Sag Harbor, and I left the restaurant very, very late, and when I drove home on 27, I was pretty much the only car on the road, and that was kind of refreshing and fun, because I'm sure later on today when we leave this studio there's going to be a lot of traffic, and there was an advantage back then, but it's nice to have a place where people want to come to and enjoy themselves as they do. They look at the Hamptons like it's a very special place. I've been all around the world, and I say this is, in the summer, this is where I want to be. Now, let's talk about the Southampton Arts Center. You got involved how many years ago?
I began being involved about 7 years ago. I brought the Mountain Film Festival here. They have a world tour, and my husband and I hosted the world tour here at the Southampton Arts Center. And then after a couple years of that, they invited me to be on the board.
And you said yes?
I said yes, because...
Is it a lot of work?
It can be, but it's very rewarding and it's fun. We have a fantastic board, and we have an amazing team at the Arts Center.
And I understand the Arts Center became the Southampton Arts Center in, is it 2013?
2013, yes.
And before that it was the old Parish Art Museum, and I remember that as well. I remember going to galas at that location in Southampton. Mm-hmm. And now the Southampton Arts Center, you have programs almost day and night, a new program and wonderful exhibits. What's going on? I mean, how do you do it all?
Well, we have a great team, and we have a board that's very, very supportive, and we have a lot of community members that are very supportive. And our goal is to carry on the legacy of Samuel Parish, which was to bring the arts to the Southampton community. So we bring thought-provoking, interesting exhibitions and programs, music and art, film and dance to the community.
And also lectures.
Great lectures. And this summer we're doing, well, I think you know, you're sponsoring one of the talks with Stephen Stolman about
Bill Cunningham, a favorite of mine. He's unfortunately no longer with us, but for the audience, Bill Cunningham was the style documentary photographer of the New York Times. And who doesn't love the New York Times? And as a style and fashion lover, well, Bill Cunningham was a real favorite of me. And now they have a new group, a wonderful group too. And I enjoy reading what they do and seeing all the photos of the fashion and everything else. And so I'm looking forward to being involved as an underwriter. And I did that a few years back as well, I think in 2019.
Yes.
And we're pretty much feeling like we're out of this pandemic, but we can never really be sure for sure. In the fall, when the weather gets cold and we all have to run inside again, we may see it propping up again with this new Delta variation, which is so much more contagious. But how did you operate during the pandemic, the Southampton Arts Center?
Well, the first thing we did was have a meeting, a programming meeting, and we said, how can we still reach our community even though we have to close our doors? So we started doing a great deal of virtual programming. We did artist talks online, virtually. We did sort of classes online, all kinds of, we did a contest, who could be the most creative with their food decorations. We did a whole program to honor the essential workers, and we did a program to help the local businesses where we created a directory of local businesses so people could shop locally rather than dialing up Amazon. And
right, and now that the pandemic is ending, or I should say slowing down, are those programs online continuing?
There are some online programs continuing, and we have a complete directory of all of our programming on our YouTube channel.
Yes, because a lot of art institutions have told me that they were able to reach a much broader audience because of their online programming, and all of a sudden people in Europe and in India and in Asia were all watching their programming, and the universe of who they could reach and also the donor base became much greater. And so I think that there's, and then of course the homebound, or people who just don't want to go out. And there are plenty of people right now. Hamptons are very crowded. People want to stay home too, and they want to watch on their laptop. So I'm glad you're continuing with this. And now I know you have a big event coming up at the end of August, a fundraiser for your patrons. And I want to hear a little bit about that, because I think it's important for our audience to know that every single charity or philanthropic organization has to raise money, has to continually bring in new funds to stay in existence.
That's
so
true.
Tell us a little bit about the event. I think the date is August 20.
It's August 20th. And
20th.
It's a Friday evening, and we have a very special evening in store for our patrons and the people who will join us for that evening. We're going to do a private dinner in this Caesar Sculpture Garden, and it's co-sponsored by Graf Jewels, so we'll have all of their beautiful jewelry there.
And are you auctioning off any Graf jewels?
Not auctioning off, but
How about one piece of jewelry in a gift bag?
that would be nice. Well, they gave us fantastic Graf wine from their vineyard in South Africa for our A&D event that we had in June. So hopefully they'll do the same in August.
So the event is in the garden, which is absolutely beautiful, and hopefully the weather will hold up, and if not, I assume you have a tent. And what does the funding mean to the museum?
It's essential.
Essential.
We have a budget of about $1.7 million, and with that we do over 200 programs a year, and many of our programs are free. So it's very important that for us to continue that great programming, continue servicing the community and servicing local artists, that people support the Art Center, either as sponsors or supporting these events.
And I want to backtrack. you said 200 different programs a year.
Yes,
That's a lot of programming.
it is.
How does the Southampton Arts Center manage that?
We have a very dedicated team. We do.
And they work hard.
They work very hard, and they're very organized. And we do everything from sound meditation, where everyone goes into the galleries and they lie down on the floor, and this wonderful man named Daniel Lauder does a great sound meditation with these amazing crystal bowls. They're quartz bowls. We do that. We do free children's programming. We're going to be doing the silent disco on Saturday night, which is so much fun. If you haven't done it before, you really should come. Everyone gets their own headphone. We have 2 or 3 different DJs, and everyone's dancing to different music all at the same time, and it's completely silent.
I think it's fun just to watch.
It is fun to watch.
Not to have the headphones on and see all these people dancing around, and it must be a sight to see. And you video it, obviously. You videotape it.
Yes, absolutely.
Good memories.
Yes. And
Yes.
last Saturday, we served over 500 Beyond Burgers. We had a free barbecue on the lawn to celebrate our Beyond the Streets, our new street art exhibition.
And I've seen that exhibit, and it was absolutely beautiful. And you're doing a lot of good work over there.
Thank you.
A lot of great work. And moving forward, what is the long-term goal of the Southampton Arts Center?
Well, the long-term goal is to continue to support the community in the spirit of Samuel Parrish, to bring community building through the arts and to follow his legacy, to fulfill his legacy going forward. We would certainly like to do things to improve the facility, improve the theater area, continue to improve our grounds, maintain the building. It's a treasure, it's an historic treasure, but you know, it's an old building, so it's in constant need of repairs. So we want to continue the programming that we're doing and make it even higher quality and better and more accessible to more people.
And when was the building built?
In the late 19th century, like about 1893. And it was built by Samuel Parrish, designed by Grosvenor Atterbury. And Samuel Parrish's vision was to create a country art museum.
And it's a beautiful building. It's really a little gem on Job's Lane in Southampton, and I always enjoy going there. And there's always a surprise waiting because the exhibits are so exciting and so unique and unexpected. I think the key for an exhibit to really be successful is to have an element of the unexpected.
Yes.
And I think Southampton Arts Center has achieved that, and because this street art was very exciting and very beautifully positioned on the walls, and I like to think I have a pretty good eye.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe we all think we have a good eye, but it's truly something worth seeing. And for our audience, we are with Elyn Kronemeyer. She lives in Southampton, New York, and she serves as a board member of the Southampton Arts Center. And Elyn, in your real life, you sell real estate for, I think, Compass. Is that correct?
Brown Harris Stevens.
Brown Harris Stevens. Okay, so this year, the real estate market in the Hamptons has absolutely exploded. The prices have gone way high. In some cases, they've doubled. I don't know if they've tripled, but if you want to sell a place, this is the year to sell, not to buy. Of course, for those that have unlimited budgets, this is the year to buy. Any year is the year to buy. And I guess this is as a result of the pandemic, post-pandemic. Everyone wants to get out of New York. They want to be in the sun, and they want to have a good life. What was the most expensive property ever sold in the Hamptons?
Well, the one that is currently in contract, it's $145 million, was the listing price. We are not sure exactly the sales price. It's 42 acres on Jewel Pond. It's it was a treasure. And the home was originally built by the grandson of Henry Ford, and then the current owner did a major renovation and expansion.
42 acres, 142 million.
145 was the list.
145 million. I know the owner. The house is in Southampton. Interesting. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And if someone, has a more modest budget, can they find a place? What's happened to, say, the market? I mean, I said doubled, but you tell us.
You could say that it's doubled if it's a really, premium property, but there are a lot of properties that maybe, just were on the market for a long time that now have finally sold. Last week we had 30 closings, and we have 25 in contract. So it's a little bit slower than normal, but that's simply because we have lower inventory.
And that's all in the Hamptons, 25 or 30, just your firm?
No, that's the whole East End.
I see, interesting. I was down in Florida this past spring, and I was told in Palm Beach that the real estate brokers were actually going door to door, knocking on people's doors, asking them if they'd like to sell a house because there was nothing to sell. They were very, very low on inventory. And I saw prices literally triple,
Wow.
which was unbelievable. Now, of course, when you have an extremely overinflated market, like you have now in the Hamptons and then in Palm Beach, what's the one thing that will drive those prices down?
Well, right now interest rates are so low.
Rates,
it's just
right.
a no-brainer to buy property now. However, once you buy a property, you have to maintain it. So unless we can do something about affordable housing here on the East End so that we can all be able to engage landscapers and cleaning ladies and people to support us in our properties, we have to stop and think about that, because it becomes too expensive to maintain your home. You might think about selling it.
The problem if you sell your home is, where do you move?
That's true.
And a lot of people say, well, I want to downsize, or I want to get all this money for my house, and then they end up going into an apartment and they're not so happy anymore. I've seen this time and time again. It's very interesting. So it's a big decision to sell a home. You have to really want to sell it, and of course if you need the money, then you should sell it, because you never want to live above your means, and
Exactly.
you want to wake up in the morning and smile and hopefully not have the stress of big mortgage payments or big expenses.
Exactly.
Getting back to the Southampton Arts Center, but the real estate market is so interesting for all of us. Southampton Arts Center, if someone wants to get involved, how do they get involved? Do you have opportunities for volunteers?
We have volunteer opportunities. We have sponsorship opportunities. You can simply become a member. You can sponsor one of our events. We have sponsorship opportunities in film, in wellness, in children's programming, in environmental programming, and we have sponsorship opportunities in our upcoming exhibition, which will be, the subject will be the transformative power of the arts to helping people that have had physical injuries or health problems, and how they've used the arts to heal, which will be a fascinating exhibition.
And that's a beautiful concept and a wonderful idea for an exhibit. And when does that begin?
That begins September 17th.
So we have a little time.
A little time, yes.
I'm excited for that. And so the street art exhibit is on now through September 17th?
It's on through August 26th, and after the street art we have a period where we're going to have an art fair sponsored by Rick Friedman. I don't know if you know the Hamptons Art Fair. It's going to be amazing. 3 tents on the grounds and the gallery space. It will be a week of incredible art, but in the meantime we'll still be doing film programming, and we'll still be having our band exercise classes. Have you gone to those? They're fantastic. They're in a tent outside on the lawn.
During COVID, the only exercise classes I've done have been all virtual, and I'm continuing with that because I'm not quite sure yet, but I understand. But certainly anything where there's plenty of air and a lot of movement, and people want to be together now in a very big way. So it's nice that you're doing all of this. And now, what about educational programs for children? Tell us a little bit about what you do in that arena.
Oh, we have a fantastic program for children. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we have free programming sponsored by Investors Bank. And we've had as many as 76 children and their caregivers there for different programs this year. Anything from arts programs to music to puppet shows. Every week it's something different.
Very nice. And so even for visitors, they can come as well?
Anyone, they can sign up.
And is it free, or is there a charge?
It's free. sponsored
that's
by
lovely.
Investors Bank.
And then during the school year, what do you have a lot of groups from the different schools visiting the Southampton Arts Center?
We do, and it was fantastic during the Earth exhibit, the Earth Artists as Activists, because it was really all about the environment, and we had some very successful school tours that came through, and then the students did research on the artists, and then they actually replicated some of the artwork by going out and finding that artwork. That exhibition was a lot about found objects that were basically, you know, refuse, garbage, and they recreated their own art using that same concept. So we do that in the off season as well.
I like all of that. And for the children do you encourage children to explore their actual ability in art?
Yes, definitely.
Besides the Thursday afternoon program?
Yeah. You know, we have some programs lined up for the fall and the winter, some educational programs for kids, and we also do a great program, chess. We have a chess program and lots of different arts, you know, outdoor art programs, sculpture, a variety of arts programs.
Maybe it would be nice to be a child again so that we could participate, right?
Exactly.
And then what about internships? Do you offer internships for young college students who might want to pursue maybe a career working in a museum or an arts center?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, right now we have 3 interns. They're all involved in the arts at their universities, and they're working at everything from production to front of house. They've been a great energy to the Art Center. They brought a nice, lively, young energy, and we love having them.
Well, this is also very interesting. And for the audience, we are discussing the Southampton Arts Center. Our guest today is a board member. Her name, Elyn Kronemeyer. And Elyn, for those who want to donate, what is the website?
It's southamptonartscenter.org.
And for those who want to maybe volunteer, is there a special phone number, or you just go on the website? How do you volunteer?
You can go on the website. The phone number for the office is there. So you can you'll find the contact number there, and you can call, and we would love to have people volunteer and help us.
And for the audience, being a volunteer is really so important. Of course, for the very wealthy and the not so wealthy, and those who are working, donations are very important for all charities. Volunteering is also very important. And you might say, well, I've just retired. I'm in between jobs. I work 9 to 5. I have a little extra time. I want to volunteer. So if you love art, the Southampton Arts Center might be the right place for you. If you want to get involved, say, as a volunteer ambulance driver, I know a lot of people here on the eastern end of Long Island who do that. You might want to work for the American Red Cross. There are a million opportunities. When my daughters were in school, I was a class mother, and I was very involved with the schools. And then I got involved with different charities. I now serve on 8 charity boards. It's more than a full-time job. But when you get involved in going outside of yourself, going outside of your family, well, it's very, very rewarding, and it creates a whole new life for you with new people and new opportunities. And they say, when you give, you get. And I truly, truly believe that. And I know, Elyn, you do, because you're doing so much for the Southampton Arts Center. I assume you work pretty much full-time with your real estate, especially in the summer, correct?
Well, actually, I'm more of a part-time real estate agent,
Okay.
but I do a lot of work at the Art Center, so probably half and half.
Which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Finally, we have just a few minutes left, and what advice would you give to someone, a young person or not so young person, who wants to fulfill their dream of maybe getting involved in the arts or maybe becoming a philanthropist?
Well, I would say choose something that you're interested in, that really sparks something in your own heart. I started out because I love documentary film, and I brought a documentary film program to the Art Center, and that just grew. And I've met so many fantastic people as a result. And there are so many ways you can volunteer and help here. Everything from, You could start an oyster farm. You can be involved in working with young people at the Children's Museum or the Bridgehampton Children's Center or at the Southampton Arts Center. I would just choose something that you love and reach out to the people that are doing that.
And I think that's great advice, because if you're going to spend a fair amount of time doing something as a volunteer, I think you need to enjoy it. Do you?
So much fun. It's so rewarding.
Rewarding, and it gives you something to look forward to, and it's exciting. And for you, you've actually built a program in film at the Southampton Arts Center, which must make you feel very good.
It's fun. It is rewarding. Last weekend we had the film called Martha, A Picture Story, and it was a phenomenal documentary about Martha Cooper, who was the original photographer of street art. And she came out and she was on a panel discussion, and we got to hear some amazing stories about her going around and photographing in the train yards in the 60s and 70s and the impact that she's had on street art around the world. So it brings everything together. A documentary film is very educational.
Very exciting. I know I was on a panel last year all about philanthropy.
Oh, yes.
And it was related to a film on philanthropy, and I totally enjoyed it. And I think that those that you invite to be on panels are generally very happy to do it, and especially if they feel they can offer something. And I always say, well, if you're going to be on a panel, you're going to speak in front of a group, well, you want to leave your audience with something, yes, some message. So you have 30 seconds. What's your message you want to leave this audience with?
Well, my message is that if you love Southampton and you love the East End, no matter which town or village it is, do your part by supporting one of these organizations. The Southampton Arts Center has a broad range of ways that you can support and be involved, even if it's just coming to films or coming to an exhibition and bringing your friends. But these organizations need the support of everyone in the community in order to be vital and relevant for all of us. So go out, visit some of the different organizations, and become a member to start, and then see how you can volunteer or sponsor an event and become involved.
I really like that piece of information.
Thank you.
Elyn, it's been really a total joy to have you on the show today. Thank you very, very much, and I hope to have you back on again in the future.
Thank you for all of the support that you've given to the Southampton Arts Center and for so many other organizations out here and around the world. You're really an inspiration to all of us.
Well, thank you very much, and you certainly are an inspiration to many, Elyn. So keep up the good work and keep telling and talking about it, because when you talk about what you do, then you motivate people. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. Today's guest, Elyn Kronemeyer. She's a board member of the Southampton Arts Center. I'll see you next week.